FPUC, that $600 from the federal government, expires next week, but will it be reinstated in early August? Hey everybody, this is LALATE with a second stimulus check and stimulus package update for today. This one's about FPUC, that's $600 from the federal government, UI, unemployment benefits, and PUA, pandemic unemployment assistance. Really big news coming out minutes ago about PUA, jobs, and even college football. The impact of FPUC is really rippling across the country. If you don't know, the bad news is that FPUC from the federal government, that $600 per week passed in the CARES Act, the first stimulus package, expires this coming week. The good news, however, that we're reporting is that it's likely to be reinstituted by Congress in August. Ultimately, what you could see is a lapse of coverage for a couple of weeks that could be paid back retroactively when it's reinstituted. What's going on? Let me go over it with you. FPUC, which is that $600 from the federal government per week, was passed in the CARES Act back in May, the first stimulus package. It pays $600 per week for every week that you're impacted from March to July. That last date in July is coming up next week. FPUC expires next week. So what's going to happen is that if you are currently on UI or PUA and you're getting that additional $600 per week from the federal government, you will stop getting it later next week. There's only one case in which you won't stop getting it next week, and that is if there is an emergency order issued to extend it. Congress is not in session, so they can't do it unless they do some incredible thing that I have not seen coming. The president can issue an executive order. The Federal Reserve can issue an executive order. It doesn't seem like anyone's going to be doing that in the next 4 days. But I don't want you to be worried, because the good news is that most indications suggest that all the parties involved, the Republicans, Democrats, and the White House, want to give a version of FPUC, maybe call it something other than the words FPUC, but want to provide a new version of FPUC when they pass the second stimulus package on around August 7th or August 8th. So what's going on? There's clearly going to be an expiration of FPUC in the next few days. Then you won't get the FPUC for the next couple of weeks until the second stimulus package is passed. That passage would be around August 7th or August 8th. Now, anything is possible. Members of Congress come back into session in late July. They could absolutely do an emergency order. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to hold it out until it's actually part of the package. If that's the case, then we'll see the passage of a reactivation of FPUC around August 7th or August 8th. If that's the case, it will likely pay you those lapsed weeks 2 weeks back, or how many weeks were lapsed from starting next week, which I think is about 2 weeks of lapse coverage. Next, how much would the new FPUC be? Most people think it's going to be around $300 to $400 per week, not $600 per week. I don't know. I think it's possible. I also think a possibility of is $600 continuing, or it could be $600 contingent on something else. What's going on? What's going on is a Republican pitch that people are getting rich off of FPUC. I think it's ridiculous. I think it's inherently stupid, and yet it's being said over and over again. What they're focusing on is there is a new report out that came out 2 weeks ago, and I gotta tell you, it's one report. It's not 20 reports, it's one report that said 2/3 of people on FPUC are making more money than they made when they were employed. Okay. But the report says if you dropped FPUC to $300 to $400 a week, then you would solve about 60% of the problem. Interesting. Steve Mnuchin said the report is telling that he doesn't like FPUC at $600 a week, but wouldn't say what number he does like. He's writing the new version, the Republican version of the second stimulus package with Mitchie McConnell, which they say they're going to release next week to members of press in a roadshow called Mitchonce. And they're going on tour with their bill, and in that you will see the fate of FPUC. Ultimately, it might be called something else. It may have a different number, or it might just be, gutted altogether. But that is that part. The next part is UI. UI is not expiring this coming week. PUA is also not expiring. PUA is 33 weeks since the date that you started PUA. If you're not on PUA, and you are eligible for PUA, apply right now. You need to get on. I haven't said it as hardly and firmly as I should. I should have like a hammer here and just be smacking on it. If you qualify for PUA, if you are a self-employed independent contractor impacted by COVID-19 and have a reduced number of hours because of COVID-19, one ground for eligibility. You have COVID-19, second ground for eligibility. You take care of someone who has COVID-19, third ground of eligibility. You live in a household where someone has COVID-19, apply for PUA right now. PUA eligibility requires you to be not eligible for unemployment benefits. So unemployed people, UI, do not get PUA. The reason why I'm saying this to you, and I've said it so many times before, is that if you're on PUA now, you get a lot more benefits than if you aren't on PUA come late next week. What's going on? It's not particularly clear, but the way the CARES Act was written, it said that PUA was created in the CARES Act starting in March, retroactively to March, but enacted into law in May, and would be active until July, but 33 weeks total. Well, it looks like, and I don't want you to be screwed because we guessed, it looks like if you wait to apply for PUA in August, it could be gone for new applicants. But if you applied for PUA this weekend and got in, then you're protected for 33 weeks after this week. What am I talking about? It's one of those things where there's like a window of opportunity to apply, and then that window for new applications is shut down. We talk about so many times in EIDL and SBA things where something's open for you to apply, but then they won't take any new applications. The point is that you clearly can apply for PUA right now. If you are eligible for it, apply right now, because it may get closed next week for new applicants. It won't get closed for existing people who have already applied. All right, so what is going on here? What's going on is Chuck E. Cheese is going bankrupt. Oh, no. And this is more reason why PUA is absolutely needed, where FPUC is needed to be extended, where unemployment benefits are really needed to be part of this second stimulus package. Mitchie McConnell and Steve Mnuchin have all consistently said that jobs are back and jobs are great, and everything worked in the first stimulus package. Well, if Chuck E. Cheese is hurting, you know it didn't work. A new report today says that 5 million businesses have gotten $518 billion in PPP loans, with an average loan of $105,000, but that many of them are set to go bankrupt. $135 billion was also issued through SBA EIDL programs, with an average loan of $60,000. So what's going on? A new interview released minutes ago shows that there's a lot of companies that are on the brink of going bankrupt. Those that got benefits from the first stimulus package could face bankruptcy. And what does that mean? More people are unemployed, more people need FPUC. One person interviewed in the report says 8 weeks was nothing considering we're on month 4 of the pandemic. He's referring to the number of weeks of PPP benefits paid to employees to keep them on salary. 8 weeks is not enough. So a new report issued today, minutes ago, from the S&P Global Ratings business says that 15 publicly traded restaurant chains are likely to default. or most likely to default. I don't, these adverbs are all over the place. And if I say the names, your mouth is about to drop. Starbucks, Denny's, and Yum Brands made the S&P list with a much smaller probability of default in a year, all at 10% or less probability. But franchises of a large fast food chains are also struggling. Operators of chains like McDonald's, Wendy's, and Yum Brands, Taco Bell's receive millions of PPP loans, but NPC International, Pizza Hut's largest U.S. franchise, filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy on July 1st. It is literally all over the place. There is a whole gamut of big companies, which I won't bore you with, that literally have prepared to file for bankruptcy or have filed for bankruptcy within the last few days, suggesting that FPUC is needed more than ever. I mean, I have done the data for you. 17 consecutive weeks of unemployment claims, new unemployment claims over 1 million per week. The worst numbers we have seen ever in the history of this country. We have never seen 17 weeks of unemployment claims each week bringing in over 1 million new claims. 1 week was 2.5 million. Second, we see that people making $40,000 or less, the vast majority, in 2019, the vast majority have lost their jobs. They're unemployed. Third, we see that people who are at the lowest level of income earners in 2019 are really on the face of not being able to make rent and being displaced, aka made homeless, in the next couple of weeks. So we have a lot of big issues. Ultimately, what economists are saying are two things that absolutely need to be protected in the second stimulus check are unemployment benefits and where you live. And that if you don't protect those two things, you will see a financial cliff. Here's an example of why FPUC is needed across everything. College football is a major industry in the United States. It really is. It brings in millions and millions of dollars and impacts more than just the colleges themselves. It brings in money to cities and everything about it. There's new indication today that college football may not even exist. That would result in loss of millions and millions and millions of jobs in just a few weeks. An anonymous Power 5 athletic director told Yahoo Sports Saturday, right now I don't see the path in the current environment and how we can play college football. I'm confident we'll be back to what we all think is normal, but it may be a year before that happens. And then there's another quote. On the record, Iowa State Athletic Director Jamie Pollard says, I don't think anyone in the country is in a position that I'm aware of to whether not having football, but here's the data today. The NCAA college football season is supposed to start in late July, but major conferences like Ohio State, Clemson, and Oklahoma have reported positive COVID-19 testing among its players, causing concern that those conferences may not even start as well. Ultimately, what we're going to see next week is a lot of confusion, a lot of battlegrounds over FPUC. I don't want you to be worried. I want you to stay motivated and stay focused. I know that it's important that you get these benefits. What you need to do is ensure that you certify for benefits every week that you're impacted. If you're watching this video right now and you've never gotten PUA but are eligible for PUA, apply right today. Where do you apply? You go to your state's unemployment website. Let me go over this right now because, boy, I feel like an old man, but I did FPUC videos and PUA videos before the program ever existed. I did it back in April, telling, hey, this thing is coming up in a few weeks. Get ready to apply. Okay, now I'm telling you to apply because it's about to expire. Oh, boy. What happens to this channel in just 90 days, 70 days is just overwhelming. All right, so the way you apply is the following. You go to your state's unemployment website. I'm going to cover UI and PUA people right now, so get a pen and paper. Let's go at it. First, you go to your state's unemployment website, your state's unemployment website. If you are a W-2 employee, that is like a Macy's employee, you are UI. If you are a PUA person, that is independent contractor, self-employed, you are a PUA person. It's really hot and muggy out here today. So pray for your host. As the bugs are coming to bite me. I think they came from Louisville, Kentucky at a senator's office. Bite that guy, bite him. Here we go. So what you do is most states require you for PUA to get a denial for UI before you get PUA. Remember, you can only be one or the other. you cannot, they require a PUA applicant to get a denial for UI benefits because you're self-employed. So you need to go to the state's unemployment website, you need to apply, it'll be a series of questions. Ultimately, what you need to remember is the most important thing is that when you're answering questions for purposes of PUA, if you're a PUA person, if you are self-employed, don't ever think of the word employer ever. You do not have an employer, you are not an employee, you do not have a place of employment. Example is the following. You're Steve Smith and you own Steve Smith Plumbing, LLC. Do not say that you, Steve Smith, are an employee of Steve Smith LLC. That's not the way states want the question answered. Do not state that Steve Smith LLC is your employer or place of employment or that it gives you employment. You are not a W-2 for purposes of PUA. So for PUA, everything is no, 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 no when you see the word employer, employee, employment. Pretty easy. So you go through the application process. Once you finish it, it's important you list the date of impact. This is the date in which you trigger your eligibility. If you're impacted by COVID-19 in March, that is your eligibility date to start. If you think you're eligible in March, put March. If you put July and then you say, oh, I was March, it is next to impossible to modify it. Next, when you go through the entire process and you finished it, then you'll be processing. And the processing period will then switch to an approval. And it'll say that you're approved from March to December. At that point, you have to certify for benefits on a weekly basis. You have to go into the tabs, certify for benefits on a weekly basis, and certify answering a series of questions. There's 2 questions you need to make sure that you answer correctly, and these are the questions and these are the answers you need to give. The first one is about mental state. If offered the ability to work, would you have been willing to work? The answer is yes. That's a mental question. So it's asking, would you mentally been willing to work? If you answer no, you're going to get denied that week of benefits. Second, if offered the ability to work, would you have been able to work? That's a question about your body. So if offered the ability to work, would you have been able to work? Yes, my body is good, I can work. If the answer is no, then they're basically saying, oh, he can't work, he physically can't work, deny. When you're then finished certifying for benefits, it will then say processing, and it'll say the weekly amount that your state provides at a base level. It may or may not also state the $600. Some computer systems are antiquated, so they don't have a place to put the $600 per week in the computer screen of the portal. Don't worry, it comes separately. Ultimately, what you'll get is you'll get the $600 from the federal government together with the base level benefits each week, or they'll come as separate payments. Do that, get it on file. Have questions, drop in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them tomorrow. As always, stay positive, stay motivated, stay focused, stay smiling, and stay with LA for more.